¿Qué tal, mi gente? Estamos activos. Bienvenido. We're now una comunidad of more than 16,200. So big shout out to all y'all that have already subscribed. And if you haven't yet, come on with it. Sentences like te lo traigo confuse a lot of Spanish learners. So in esta lección, I'm going to break this structure down so that you understand how it works and can more confidently use it. So first of all, the reason why this is so confusing is because of these. And the real problem is that most of us don't even understand how this works in English. So I'm going to start by explaining how we do this in English and then show you how it works in Spanish. To get the most out of this lesson, I highly recommend that you first make sure you understand what conjugations are and how to conjugate verbs in the present tense for both regular and irregular verbs. If you need a quick refresher, check out these lessons first and then come back to this one. The links to all of these lessons are in the description of this one. Now, if you're ready, this is a tricky topic, so I just need you to stay with me until the end because it could click for you at any moment. Just dame un chance. So let's get into it. When we're talking about something, we normally at least have a main character and something they did, right? So for example, Ren brings. Ren is the main character, aka the subject. Brings is what's being done, aka the verb. So here we have a subject, Ren, and a verb, brings. Great. Now, sometimes the main character does something that affects someone or something else. So, for example, maybe Ren brings the dessert. Porque a mí me encantan los postres. The dessert is what's being directly affected by the verb because it's what's being brought. That's why in this phrase, dessert is called a direct object. A direct object tells you who or what is being directly impacted by the verb. So if a sentence said, she plays the drums, she is the subject. Plays is the verb. Drums is the direct object because it's what's being played. Muy bien. So far we understand that we've got a subject, a verb, and a direct object. Now, sometimes our main character has a supporting cast, right? So what if I said, Ren brings the dessert to Keisha? Ren is the subject. Brings is the verb. Dessert is the direct object. And now Keisha is the indirect object. We now know that a direct object is directly affected by the verb, right? So an indirect object is indirectly affected by the verb. So whatever it is that's happening doesn't happen directly to them. They're just affected by what happens. So typically, if you're giving, sending, showing, or telling something to someone or doing something for them, that person is the indirect object. Because you're not doing something directly to them, you're doing it for them or in a way that affects them. Here's another example to make sure you got it. She sold a car to my mom. She is the subject. Sold is the verb. Car is the direct object because it's what's being sold. And mom is the indirect object because she's being indirectly affected by the sale of the car. Mom can't be the direct object because she is not being sold, hopefully. She is just indirectly impacted by the sale of the car. This is the last thing I'm going to explain about how this works in English. So you are almost there. Just hang in there with me. So what would happen if we changed all these nouns to pronouns? Instead of Ren brings the dessert to Keisha, we might have something like I bring it to you. Pronouns stand in for a noun so that you don't have to just keep repeating the noun over and over. These structures are the exact same. We still have subject, verb, direct object, indirect object. The only thing that's different is that now this is called a direct object pronoun, and this is the indirect object pronoun, because they're pronouns. Give yourself a pat on the back if you're still with me, because that was the hardest part about this lesson. I specifically need you to understand what a direct object pronoun and indirect object pronoun are. So now that you understand that those two things are what we're really focusing on in this lesson, let me now show you how this works in Spanish. Let's keep our same example. I bring it to you. In Spanish, the verb for to bring is traer. This is an irregular verb, which is why I said it helps to watch that lesson first. So to make traer, I bring, it's going to become traigo. You can also say yo traigo, but for this example, we're just going to leave yo off because you don't really need it. So far we have I bring. Now we need to add our direct object pronoun, it. In English, we say I bring it. The direct object pronoun comes after the verb. But in Spanish, the direct object pronoun comes before the verb. Lo traigo. I bring it. Here's some other examples. Te quiero. This is I love you. Quiero is both the subject and the verb. I love. Te is the direct object pronoun because you are the one who is directly impacted by my love, because I love you. See how these follow the exact same format as lo traigo? We almost have our full sentence built to say I bring it to you. So far we have I bring it. Now, how do we add to you? In Spanish, we put the indirect object pronoun in front of the direct object pronoun. Te lo traigo. I bring it to you. Look at this compared to how we say it in English. Can you see how this is just a mirror of the English order? To you, it, I bring, versus I bring it to you. Let me give you a couple other examples to help this really sink in. Te lo compro. For you, it, I buy. Or, I buy it for you. Me lo dan. To me, it, they give. Or, they give it to me. The last thing I want to point out is that all the examples we saw in this lesson were all in the present tense, but you can use this exact same structure in other tenses too. For this series, we're going to keep it in the present tense just to make sure that it's extra clear, so just keep that in mind. In this lesson, you already saw me, te, and lo, so in part 2, I'm going to list out all these pronouns and also explain some things that commonly confuse people. Gracias por estar aquí. Hasta la próxima.